Okay, so Gauntlet's pretty much over, and now is a good time to go take a peek at what people have been doing in the Pathfinder sessions, or in the Pathfinder folks who have been doing well. I just reset my filter. And the only thing I care about is Pathfinder, so that makes my life very simple. So, looks like a bunch of people got pretty far. But when we start looking at them, charges went full, charges went full, charges went full. This guy's running 3 of them. This Quantrix build. We looked at this one earlier. He's the one who most likely is going to win the Pathfinder thing. There's somebody still alive, but I don't think there's enough time left. As far as charges used, this guy uses 20 charges, 30 and 30. And if we go look at the site, and we take a look at like how they set up their tree, not a whole lot of investment in charges gained. There's some over here. Right, there is a special reserve, spike concoction. This will impact your charges gained. So gaining a little bit of extra charges from there and gaining 10% over there. So not a ton of investment, right? It's not picking up this wheel over here for reduced charges used, increased charges gained here, and not really going out of his way after that. It is worth noting that I believe his belt has 32% increased charges gained. So he's sitting at about 42% increased charges gained, which means that this flask, which has 5 charges whenever you're hit, it's going to take about 3 hits before you get there. Now, it's an evasion-based character, so he's planning not to get hit a whole lot, which means that it's much more important that he gets the chance, let me make sure it's visible, the chance for flask charges not to consume charges to trigger. So what would happen is you got hit, you fill up your flask, now your flask is full. You gain your 6% life. The next time something happens with the charges on the flask, and something has to happen, right? It doesn't just auto trigger. It will check, it will find out it's still full, and you will use it again, gaining 6% again. This can technically happen an infinite number of times, but the frequency at which it happens is the important thing, and the frequency is limited by how often you gain charges, for how often an event happens that makes this charge counter go up. So flask charge is gained every 3 seconds. Every 3 seconds it will check by default right now. If other events are happening, like he's fighting things and killing things, that means that he will gain flask charge from that as well. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you gain a flask charge whenever you deal critical strike. This is also very important, right? Because this is another event on your flask charges. Now he doesn't crit a whole lot, so it's not as significant, but he does hit very frequently because of his skill. I think it's Toxic Rain. So that still means you have frequent hits. They will create flask events, and flask events can trigger a full flask if it didn't consume charges the last time. So yeah, that is the number 1 Pathfinder. As far as little tree goes, I mean, we looked at it in more detail before. It's a Toxic Rain tree. It does very, very well, and it relies heavily on picking up this Ghost Dance. So let's look at what other people are doing, because some people leaned in more to this flask mechanic than others. The number 2 guy, 4 flasks, charged with, used when full, used when full, used when full, and used when full. 7, 7, 7, and 6. So a little bit higher numbers, right? These flasks are, very much prioritizing the 7 charges when full, and then the belt has nothing. Let's look at the site, see what they did with the tree and where things are going. Alright. So first things first, picking up Careful Conservationist, right? Much more investment in flask charges gained. This is 40% flash charges gained, and 10% reduced flash charges used. Awesome. This is 25% increased flash charges gained. So it's 65 right now. And I think that is it on the tree. Let's see if he has any things. Yeah, so here he has fasting and spike concoction. So again, more flash charges gained. And for his ascendancy passives, he did pick up nature boon, so 10% increased flash charges gained. So what does that mean? He has a flash that requires 30, 30, 40, and 20. So the 21 is easy, right? Because you get hit once, you gain 7 charges. He needs, he has like 25, no, he has 30% reduction, I think. He has 10% reduced flash charges used from there, and over here, there's nothing on there. So it's just 10% here, nothing on the belt. So he needs 18. So you get hit once, you have 7 plus flash charges gained. It's not enough to break 20 or 18 in this particular case, which means he gets to hit, has to be hit twice. For this guy, 6 charges whenever you get hit by an enemy. Getting hit twice is 12. He needs 30, so probably has to get hit 3 times. And if he gets hit 3 times, it will most likely trigger. 3 times as well. Maybe 3 or 4 times before this guy triggers. So not super frequently. But you see a lot more investment, so he saw a lot more value in using this combo of used when full combined with the Master Surgeon to get a bunch of life recovery going. Other than that, this Ghost Dance setup, I think pretty much everybody did that. Nobody went the armor route for that. So it's number 2. Number 3. POE site. Let's see. No. Number 3 is hidden. Alright. Okay, so flask when full, and it uses 7 charges, 7 charges, 7 charges, 7 charges. So these are 3 20% flasks, which means that these things trigger all the time. He does have an 8% chance for flask you consume not to, for a flask you use not to consume charges, and that's because his ascendancy setup is a little bit different. But this setup means that he probably will be gaining 6% life times 3 every other time he gets hit, or every time he gets hit. So let's take a look at the site for his skill tree. 8% not to consume. We have the set of the flask still, it's still the same. He picked up Master Conservationists. He doesn't have anything going on there. Again, Ghost Dance. Doesn't pick up the nodes down here. He does pick up this guy, the mana and charge recovery. So what that means is that he probably is looking at a 50% increased flash charges gained. And he has these guys which require you to get to 18 flash charges. Because he has a 10% reduced used. So if he gets hit twice, and he hasn't had a crit recently, he would have a 30% increase. Getting hit twice, 14 charges, plus 30%, he should be breaking already 18 charges. So it's not for these guys that he actually picked up this additional node. It might be just for the reservation and the mana setup that he picked that up. But yeah, every other hit, he would be gaining 18% of life. Plus, you know, he has this ability not to consume charges, which we have on the tree normally. But he has it on his belt, and he didn't pick up the node for Nature's Boon. Instead, he picked up Reprisal, Toxicist, and Master Surgeon. kind of hard to see to tell, right? Like if you have 20% reduced of chance of not to consume charges, it would stack with the 8% he has on the belt, right? So it'd be 28%, which that 8% hits a lot harder when you already have 20%. So not the way I would have done it, but he did a whole hell of a lot better than I did. So yeah, but again, we see the same investment. He went pretty heavy in this setup to ensure that he gained back a pretty steady amount of life whenever he got hit. But of course, the ghost dance on there as well. That was I do not deserve to win. From I don't know. Okay, well, at least a consistent. And then number 5 is the first one we find that we actually see where nothing seems to be going on. Is that accurate? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. No enchants on the flasks. This person is doing it by hand. Let's make sure on the site and see how they set things up to and why this was the way that made sense to them. Okay. No investment in the flask nodes here or down here. And nothing up here. And yeah, just using ghost dance. Okay. Well, that's exciting. And what did they do for masteries? Okay, for the masteries, they actually did not go into Master Surgeon. So this is the first person we saw who didn't go into Master Surgeon for the life recovery when flasks are being used with the auto-triggering flasks. Which makes sense, that if they don't auto-trigger, you don't pick up these nodes. Wait, you had a crystal... What? One moment. Okay, oh, this is not their... Oh, they're using Poisonous Concoction. So yeah, they went into a very different direction, and they're the first person we found at spot 5 who did not use the flash charges when full, or at least the ones that we could see, combined with the Master Surgeon. So this particular combo, super tanky. A lot of people believe that you know it doesn't do enough. It looks like a lot of people also believe that it does do enough. Rise is up here too. 6th. That seems appropriate for him somehow. I'm sure he'll have grief over that, but that's his stick, kinda. So hey, maybe this is exactly what he wanted. Use when full, use when full, use when full. Again, every single trigger we've seen so far is all used when full on Pathfinders. This guy, no investment on the belt for flash charges. And if we check the site to see how they set up their tree and if they did anything for flash charges, nothing with the flash charges down there. They picked up the cluster for careful conservationists and picked up... Oh, they have a big cluster going. Uncompromising, that has nothing to do... Oh, spiked concoction and fasting. So again, flash charges investment over there as well. And then they left this cluster alone. So yeah, another person who decided to leverage these flasks. Leverage these flasks, and their tree is kind of the standard. I imagine this is some toxic rain. Yep, toxic rain. So yeah, lots of people who have been playing this Gauntlet actually have been using this setup to make pretty good progress with their survivability by using these flask charge triggers when full, combined with the Master Alchemist, I believe is what it's called. It's the one where you gain 6% whenever you're on full charges. As far as skills, Toxic Rain, Poisonous Concoction, we don't know. Spectral Helix, Poisonous Concoction, Toxic Rain. And we get a Caustic Arrow, which I imagine has Not just the caustic arrow, right? Caustic arrow, arrow nova, and what do we have here? Toxic rain. Okay, so it's a toxic rain. But no flash triggers. Anyway. Mainly doing this so that if you want to check what happened in the Gauntlet, you know, in 3 months, when this information might be a little bit harder to come by, it's available. Lots of people are finding ways to get some pretty good recovery out of this setup. The people who are at the top, mostly all are using it as one more defensive layer. Nobody used it going the armor route. Everybody went the evasion route, and pretty much everybody that we looked at had Ghost Dance going. So Ghost Dance evasion is like, well, evasion is the first layer of defense. Then you have Ghost Dance. But right behind Ghost Dance, especially for more frequent hits, you start seeing these life gained when flash charges are full, to make their characters just a little bit more tanky. Anyway, that's it from the part of the Gauntlet that I care about. It's been interesting to see these people play around with it. It's pretty hilarious if you can find the clip of Rise getting hit by all sorts of stuff at the same time and seeing his life just shoot up and down all over the place. Yep, that happens. Instant recovery with a whole bunch of flasks that are triggered by it, and he had 3 flasks going? Yeah, he had 3 flasks, and this is 30, 30, 30, so they all were on the same cycle, right? 7 charges, 7 charges, and 7 charges. So there's a pretty good likelihood that whenever one of the flasks was about to trigger, they all triggered, so he got like 18% of his life back every time all 3 of them triggered, if he didn't get any of the any luck with your flask not consuming charges. We'll see what next league looks like. I'm definitely looking at different builds to see if I can do more with this. If the 7 charges when you are hit by an enemy goes away, then I think I'm going to see what I can do going the crit route instead, and forcing massive flash charges gained through critical strikes, in which case it will actually become more important to have flasks not consume charges, right? We want to put that at 30%, because if we can put that at 30%, because we have super frequent flask events, we'll get much more mileage out of it. My hope was to do it last league, but you know, the items that were announced and the items in the game were not the same. Probably a good thing, but still a little bummed by that. Anyway, we'll see what the next league brings. Heist is rough. I don't think there's gonna be another heist video. But if you're enjoying it, all the power to you. And if not, the next event I'll probably have some more content.